Sunday, February 4th. February 4th? February 3rd? Alexa, what's the date?
Today is Sunday, February 3rd.
Okay. Hey guys, it's Casera, and today I have for you my February week 1 reading vlog. I decided to start my February reading vlog a couple days early because I didn't do a vlog for this past week. Last night I started reading Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I am definitely enjoying it. I'm only like 50 pages in. I don't know what it was about yesterday, but I just felt like I was in a really YA mood, which I'm like never in a YA mood. So I decided it was a good idea to pick this one up while I was in that mood. And I love Laini Taylor's writing style, and I still love it in this book, and I'm excited to continue on with this one. Also on audiobook, I'm currently reading Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I'm actually almost done with it now. I was not too excited for it at the beginning. It was a little bit boring, but I was cleaning up and I just had a lot of time to read audiobooks. So I just continued reading it, and I'm actually really invested in this book right now. So I'll let you guys know more details on that when I finish the audiobook. So for the last part of this quick update, I did not have a vlog for this week, so I haven't unwrapped a new book. So I'm going to unwrap the book for next week now. I picked a pretty big one. I'm hoping that it'll be something that I want to read. I got Scythe by Neal Shusterman. I am definitely excited for this one. I've heard a lot of great things about this one, more so about the second in the series than the first one. I'm actually really excited for this. I'm happy that I picked up this one. February 2nd. I made a lot of progress on Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I'm about halfway through it now, so definitely liking it, but don't take this the wrong way. I'm definitely getting Twilight vibes from this. It just has similar tropes. First of all, it's a paranormal fantasy. Unlike Twilight though, it has a lot more of a fantasy aspect to it rather than a romantic aspect. I do think a romance is going to be a very big part of this book, but it definitely has like an interesting fantasy aspect to it, and I think we're going to get more fantasy soon from it, so I'm definitely excited for that. I really like the main character, Karou. I think she's a good blend of like regular person and like badass female protagonist. She's not like Celaena Sardothien where she's like over the top or something like that, but she still has that kind of like nature to her that is like kick-ass that I really, really like. And I actually have a lot to update you guys on. First of all, I finished Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I enjoyed it, but I also didn't. So I was reading this on audiobook, and I feel like the first half of the book was just really boring to me. I probably wouldn't have continued it on if I wasn't reading it on audiobook, because I just usually finish the audiobooks that I start, and I had a lot of time to listen to audiobooks over the course of the last couple of days. So I finished it on audio, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the ending. Like halfway through it, it got really interesting, and then the ending was really interesting, and it leaves off on a little bit of a cliffhanger, which I was kind of annoyed about, because I know it's like the first novel in a series, but I hadn't really planned on continuing on with the series because it's just not really my cup of tea, but now I kind of want to. So I don't know if I'm gonna do that or not, but I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. So I still think it was good. It's a decent book, just only above average for me. So after that, I wanted to pick up another audiobook because I had a lot of time to read audiobooks today. I didn't get any audiobook holds from the library, so I decided to pick up one from my TBR, The Great Alone by Kristin Hannah. I picked up the audiobook of it from my library. This book, by the way, I bought it at the library book sale, so it was only like $1. So it doesn't really bother me that I'm actually reading it on audio. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. I love Kristin Hannah's writing style. I like how she writes her characters, and I'm on like chapter 5 now, and it's very intriguing. So I'm definitely excited to continue on with this one. I got a lot read for Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I'm almost done. There's only like this much left. So I am likely going to finish this one tonight. So I'm gonna finish 2 books today, which is weird because I haven't finished a book in like a week, and now I'm gonna finish 2 in one day. I'm planning on finishing this one tonight, and so far, I like it. It has changed a lot since the last time I updated you guys, because the last time I updated you guys, it was very much like an urban fantasy, but I feel like it's gotten more a fantasy aspect than a paranormal aspect to it, and I like where it's going, so I'm hoping the ending is good. I finally started Caliban's War by James S.A. Corey. I've only read the prologue and the first chapter of it so far. The first chapter of this book reminds me of the prologue of A Game of Thrones. I actually really like it. I'm very intrigued by it. I want to see where this is going, but I want to finish Daughter of Smoke and Bone first, so I'm going to do that today, and then I'm definitely going to get into this more tomorrow because it's getting kind of late and I need to go to sleep. Hey guys, it is Monday, February 4th, and first of all, this chair I got as a Christmas present from my parents, but it took like an entire month for us to get it up here and get it assembled and everything, but I'm loving it so much. I finally got it this weekend and I'm so excited. I really like it. I might have to do one of those like time lapse in this chair so you guys can see me just like swinging around while I'm reading. I think it would be really cool in like the fast speed of the time lapse, so we'll see if I can do that. I'd have to do it in the morning because it's kind of in a dark corner because I haven't gotten a reading light or anything yet. Last night I did end up finishing Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I really enjoyed reading this book. Like the second half of this book has 2 twists. One of them, which was the harder one in my opinion to guess, I guessed. And then the one that should have been obvious, the one that had so many clues, I didn't guess. I didn't guess it and I was really angry at myself, but it was a good twist. I really enjoyed it. I'm excited to move on to the next book in this series, but I don't think I will do that right away because I ended up starting a new book last night. I ended up starting Scythe by Neal Shusterman. It's my unwrapped book for the week, and so far I'm really enjoying it. I'm not very far into it. I've only read the first 2 pages. It's definitely very interesting. I really like this world, and the first chapter I thought was hilarious. I thought the first chapter was so funny. Even though like I don't know if it was meant to be funny, maybe it was, but it was kind of like a situational or dry sort of humor, but I really enjoyed it and I'm excited to continue on with this one. I've also made quite a bit of progress with The Great Alone. I'm listening to this one on audiobook. I was listening to it this morning while I was doing the dishes because I forgot to do it last night, but as I was listening to it, oh, this book is so compelling, like so compelling. I might finish this audiobook really quickly. I left off on a part that was kind of bad. It's getting kind of dark right now, and I'm just definitely getting that winter is coming vibe, even though this is nothing like Game of Thrones, but that phrase just keeps going in my head over and over again, even though it's not really said. I mean, it's kind of said in this book, but not in those words. I'm a little scared for what's gonna happen in this book because I think it's gonna tear my heart out. But so far, I'm really loving it. This morning, I took the time-lapse footage of me in my egg chair reading, and after watching it back, I don't know if I can use the footage because it's extremely jarring to watch because there's just so much movement in it. And in time-lapse, it's really fast. So if I use it, I'm gonna have to slow it down so that you guys don't get seizures watching it. I thought I would mention it to you because it was just really funny to me. I finished The Great Alone by Kristin Hannah. I love this book so much. I mentioned before I started reading this book that I love how Kristin Hanna writes her characters, and that is so true for this book. I loved every single one of the characters in this book. They are so well written. They're so flawed, and yet they're still people that you want to root for. All the characters in this feel like real people, and I enjoyed it so much. This is one of those books that is so heartbreaking at times, and at other times it's so uplifting, and then it's heartbreaking again, and then uplifting again. It felt like a family drama. It didn't really feel like historical fiction to me. It felt like I was reading a family drama that happened to be set in a historical setting, which does come into play a little bit in the book, but I really, really enjoyed it and highly, highly recommend it. Also, I made a lot of progress on Scythe by Neal Shusterman. I'm right here now. That's about 50% of the way through. So this was my unwrapped book for this week. So officially I get to keep it now. I will probably be finishing this book this week. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I've heard in the past from other booktubers that like the beginning of this book is really, really slow. And I don't agree. I think it moves very well. It's a little slow, but I feel like the plot definitely still moves in the first half of this book. And yes, halfway through it, things change drastically, and I honestly don't know if I'm gonna like the second half of this book because I love the first half of this book so much. I've already put the second book, Thunderhead, in this series on hold with my library because I definitely think I'm gonna want to read it. It's been kind of weird because I've been on a very YA mood this week, which is weird for me. I'm not normally in a YA mood. I just haven't been feeling to read adult books as much. So for my audiobook, I decided to start The Lightning Thief by Percy Jackson, which I realize is not a YA book. It's technically a middle grade book, but it's written in kind of a younger voice that I wouldn't normally like that much. So I decided to start that one because it's a middle grade book that I've always been really intrigued by because everyone seems to love it, and I just never read it when I was that age. I've only listened to the four chapters or so, but I'm really liking it so far, which I am relieved by because the first time I picked up that book, I picked it up physically and read like the first page and was like, I don't know if I'll like this. So I'm happy that I'm enjoying it so far, and hopefully I will like the entire book and move on with that series as well. Also, I do plan on continuing reading tonight. I will get to Scythe a little bit later tonight, but I think since I am in a YA mood, I'm going to pick up The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is on my TBR for this month, and it is a book that is really hyped on BookTube right now. I really don't know that much about it other than the fact that it's written in verse, so I'm really excited to learn more about it and excited to get to this. So I'm probably going to start reading this right now, and then later on in the night, I will read Scythe right before I'm going to bed. Hey guys, it is Friday, February 8th, and last night I finished Scythe by Neal Shusterman. I really, really enjoyed this book. I really, really liked the world in this book. The world in this book is definitely one that I could like see actually happening. Maybe not actually happening exactly as this is, but like the idea of the Thunderhead and stuff like that seems very plausible to me, just like in the way our society is going. So I really enjoyed being in this world, and parts of this book were very profound. Between the chapters, there are these like passages from the gleaning journals of like different sites, and some of those passages were very profound in different ways. There's one in particular that I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, I did not know how much I liked this book until I read that passage, but I definitely really, really enjoyed it. The ending kind of disappointed me a little bit because I don't know what I was expecting from it. It didn't deliver on what I was expecting from it, if that makes sense. The Gleaning Journal entry after the last chapter just felt like setup for the next book, and I don't know if I like where that's going. Like, I thought the second book would be going in a different direction, and I can kind of see where the second book is going now, so I don't know how excited I am for the second book, but I definitely really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. Also, this morning I finished The Lightning Thief by Percy Jackson. I listened to this book on audio, and I absolutely loved it. If I was 12 years old when I read this book, it would probably be one of my favorites ever. I am definitely super excited to continue on with that series. series. I ended up giving it 5 stars just because I was so into the book. Like, I didn't expect to finish it today because I don't generally listen to audiobooks when I'm off of work. I really loved it and I ended up giving it 5 stars. After that, I started a new audiobook, Homo Deus, and I wasn't gonna mention it too much in this vlog, but I just wanted to mention it quickly because it was another one that I was just so engrossed in that I forgot that I was supposed to be doing other things today. And part of the reason for that is it takes a lot of the ideas that we kind of talk about in Scythe and talks about those ideas from a nonfiction perspective. So Scythe was just kind of like a great segue into that book for me, and I'm very excited to continue on with it, but more on that book next week because I decided that I'm going to end this reading vlog today. I know it's a day early, but that means that I can get it out for you guys by tomorrow, and I will start next week reading vlog a day early. All right, everybody, so for this week, I ended up finishing 5 books, which is a lot, but it's not that surprising because I finished 2 physical books and 3 audiobooks, which my goal is 2 physical books a week, and the audiobooks, for the most part, I listen to them at work, so that's why I end up finishing that many audiobooks. The first book that I finished this week is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I listened to this one on audio. I wasn't too excited in like the first half of this book, but something happens like around at the halfway point, and then I got really into this book. I really enjoyed it. It's following the main character who gets accepted into a prestigious academy. There was a murder in the history of this academy, and during that time, there were these letters signed by someone who was supposed to be the murderer, and they signed it as Truly Devious, hence the name of the book. And the main character believes that the person who confessed to these murders didn't actually kill the person, and that it is still an unsolved case. What she wants to do is to solve the murder. Like I said, I really enjoyed the second half of this book, but the ending kind of annoyed me a little bit because I really wanted to read a standalone mystery novel. I didn't want it to be the first book in a series, generally because I don't read like series of mystery novels. Like, I'll read standalones here and there, but it's not my typical genre, so I don't like to read too many of them. So the ending was definitely set up for the next book in the series, which I don't particularly want to read. I might still end up reading it just because I've already started the series. Overall, I ended up giving the book 3.5 stars. So it was a solid read. I enjoyed it, but it's not one of my favorites. The next book that I finished this week is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I really enjoyed this book. It's basically a paranormal romance book. It leans a little bit more to the fantasy side, I think, than the romance side. It is following a character named Karou who doesn't really know her past and is trying to figure out who she is. She's basically raised by a group of chimera who live in a place that she calls elsewhere. And so it's kind of her learning her history and different things, and a lot of things happen. I really love Laini Taylor's writing style, and when I was reading Strange the Dreamer, I kept thinking that her writing style would lend really well to a paranormal type of book. I was thinking more along the lines of like the Night Circus level, and this one probably leaned a little bit closer to like Twilight level than the Night Circus. Even so, I still really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I'm definitely excited to read the next in this series. The next book that I finished in this week is The Great Alone by Kristin Hannah. This book definitely outshined all the other books that I read this week. I absolutely loved this book. This might be a new favorite. This is following a family who decides to move to the Alaskan wilderness after the father comes home from Vietnam. It was just such a really great read. I love all of the characters in this book. The character development in this book is just so good. There's so much that happens in this book, and you're not sheltered for any of it. Like, you see it all happening. You feel the pain that your characters are feeling as they're going through these things, and it was just such a great read, and definitely probably my favorite historical fiction that I've ever read. The next book that I finished this month is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. I really enjoyed this book. It was such a fun book to read. I really loved the world in this book, and I just talked about this, so you guys obviously already know all of this, but I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. The last book that I read this week is The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. I enjoyed this book a lot more than I thought I would. I definitely enjoyed Percy's character. I enjoyed like the different adventures that they went on. It was such a fun time, and I'm excited to read the next one. I ended up giving it 5 stars, which surprised me because I didn't think I was gonna give this book 5 stars, but I really, really loved it. So that's all the books that I finished this week. Just a quick note on the books that I am still currently reading. I just started on audio Homo Deus by Yuval Noah Harari. This is a non-fiction book talking about the future of humankind, basically. It's kind of like a sequel to Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, which talked about humans past and a little bit of the human present. This one is talking about humans future, which is so far very interesting to me. I'm also still currently reading The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I don't know if I talked too much about this one, but so far I am really enjoying it. Also, it is definitely written like a series of poems rather than a book written in verse. So it's a little bit different than I was expecting, but I'm definitely enjoying it. And this is also one that I think the audiobook would be really good for this one. I haven't read the audiobook, but I've heard that it's good, and just like from the little bit that I've read, I can tell that this would be a really good audiobook. And last but not least, I am still currently reading Caliban's War by James S.A. Corey. I didn't have a whole lot of updates on this one this week because I was just in a really YA mood, so I was reading those more, but I will definitely be getting a lot further into this one in next week's vlog. Last thing we have to do is talk about my wrapped book. So this past week, I unwrapped Scythe, and obviously I finished it and really enjoyed it, so I'm really happy about that. So we can see what will be my book for next week. So I got The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. I don't know what this book is about. I know that it's literary fiction, which scares me. This is a book that in college we were recommended that we should read, so I got it so that I would read it, and then I didn't even open it. I'm a little scared of this one. I have no idea what it's about, but it could be really, really good. It could also be really boring because literary fiction can sometimes be very boring. I think I'm up for the challenge though, so I'm excited to see if I like this. So that's all I got for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I post videos every Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday, so consider subscribing. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. Links for Goodreads, Instagram, and Twitter are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.